Hi there, I'm the _twig and I like analysing game rules. Today we're going to be talking about one of my absolute favourite combat tricks, creating Obscurement. This is a primarily defensive tactic, although there are definitely offensive applications, and in some cases it can even be used for control. There are two types of Obscurement. Light Obscurement is something like dim light or a thin fog, and it gives you disadvantage on sight-based perception checks as well as a -5 to your passive perception. There's not a ton to talk about here. Most of the rules that dealt with Light Obscurement were removed in 2024, although it is worth mentioning that characters with dark vision actually still treat darkness as Light Obscurement. That means that the dwarf in your party still has disadvantage on their perception checks to find the hidden door, unless they have a lantern with them. The one we're considerably more interested in is Heavy Obscurement. This functionally gives the blinded condition, which can be used to do some incredibly useful things. The first thing that comes to most people's minds is hiding, although the rules surrounding hiding are murky at best, so for the purposes of this video I'm just going to say ask your DM about that. We're looking at all of the other stuff that you can do with Heavy Obscurement. Of course, if you did want to hide, one of the best ways to improve your stealth is actually to join my Patreon. These guys get early access to my videos and a +5 to all dexterity based D20 tests. That includes their attack rolls and saves too. If you join the higher tiers, you also get to add this bonus to Charisma, which is how SK, Mark Rainbow and Biney managed to persuade me to say their names. Actually, Mark made an intimidation check whilst raging. Right, first things first, we want to set up our Obscurement. So let's stay nice and simple for now and use Fog Cloud. It creates a 20-foot radius sphere of Heavy Obscurement, although you can upcast it to make it bigger, which is a genuine thing that you might want to do sometimes. This gives everyone inside it the blinded condition, and also blocks the line of sight for anyone outside the fog cloud. So what? Okay, let's say that you're fighting a pack of wolves. They have pack tactics, which gives them advantage on all attacks, as long as another wolf is standing next to the target. That can be quite scary for a first level party. Well, now they're blind, so that neutralises the advantage, significantly reducing their offensive capabilities. Your wizard is also at low HP, so you want to try and shoot the wolf that's standing next to him with your longbow. Unfortunately, you're currently standing next to this other wolf, so you would normally have disadvantage on your attack roll. Fortunately, the wolf that you're attacking is blinded, meaning that you also have advantage on the attack, which balances off and means that you actually roll at neutral. This is the first benefit of Heavy Obscurement. Absolutely everything gets rolled at neutral. It doesn't matter what else is happening, in Heavy Obscurement you only roll 1 die on attacks. Unless you use some fun combos, which we'll talk about later of course. It's now the low HP wizard's turn, and they want to run away from the wolf. Normally they'd have to use the disengage action or something like shocking grasp, but because the wolf is in Heavy Obscurement, they're blind. The second benefit of Heavy Obscurement is that there are no opportunity attacks. You can just walk around as you please. The wolves weren't alone here though. They were hunting with a Nilbog, who wants to use their Tasha's Hideous Laughter on your ranger, which would steal your turns and end the concentration on Fog Cloud. Fortunately, Tasha's Hideous Laughter requires the Nilbog to see your ranger. Benefit number 3, Heavy Obscurement shuts down sight-based abilities. This, in my opinion, is the big one. A huge number of features require sight to work. Hypnotic Pattern doesn't work, the Frighten condition turns off, the vast majority of teleports don't work, a Medusa can't petrify you, and you can't be counterspelled. There's loads of other things as well. In fact, if a feature is single target and uses a saving throw, there's a very good chance that that requires line of sight. Okay, so those are the 3 universal benefits of Obscurement. Everything is rolled at neutral, there are no opportunity attacks, and sight-based abilities don't work. Now I want to look at the actual spells and effects that can create Obscurement, because there are several different types, and they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. There are exceptions to these groupings, but this should give you a general idea of what you're going to get. First up is things like Fog Cloud, which creates fog, smoke, or something similar. I call these atmospheric effects. Some other examples are Sleet Storm and Cloud Kill. These are probably my favourites because the only thing that can see through them is blindsight. All of the others have some enemies which get to ignore them. The atmospheric effects are also normally the biggest ones, often being 20-foot radius, which means that you can generally cover the entire battlefield. Fog Cloud in particular can get absolutely massive if you upcast it. The one big weakness that these atmospheric effects have though is strong winds. Most of the time they get immediately blown away if there's a storm or someone casts a spell like Gust of Wind, although there are a couple of exceptions to this, like Sleet Storm, which doesn't get blown away. Our second type of obscurement is magical darkness, such as from the Darkness spell. Now this is one that you need to just check with your DM about. Many tables say that dark vision cannot see through magical darkness. However, there is actually no rule stating this. The Darkness spell specifically can't be seen through, but other sources of magical darkness, such as from the tricksy form of Summon Fae, should be defeated by normal dark vision. Magical darkness is also defeated by anyone with Devil's Sight, which is of course most devils and some warlocks, as well as anything with True Sight. The big benefit of these effects is that they can be moved around. The Darkness spell can be cast on something like a stick that you can then pick up and run around with, to give yourself the benefits of heavy obscurement without annoying your party wizard by making all their sight-based spells essentially useless. Similarly, Summon Fae can create a patch of darkness every single turn, effectively serving as a free disengage point for the Fae and also your party monk, so they don't have to spend their bonus action on patient defense. The third type of obscurement is one that may or may not work depending on your table: illusions. These are really broad and have very inconsistent treatment between tables, but you might be able to use something like Silent Image to just create a big box, or a bunch of fog, or something like that. Illusions are all defeated by True Sight, and most become translucent if a creature sees something interact with them, or makes a successful study action. If you were wanting to use illusions for creating obscurement, please just check with your DM how they're going to rule it. I do, however, have one cool tactic near the end of the video, which should work fine at most tables. Right, I don't normally do this, but there are a couple of features which are so immensely relevant to this conversation that I can't just not talk about them. I'm going to quickly cover a backwards compatible spell and a magic item. Everything so far has been a concentration spell, except for a couple of the illusion spells which are quite high level, and they aren't especially reliable. What if you wanted to cast something else as well though? Maybe put up a web spell to stop people from leaving your fog cloud. This is where my second favourite spell from all of Xanathar's comes in: Pyrotechnics. This is a single action instantaneous spell which targets fire source, such as the fighter's lantern. Carrying some fire isn't exactly a difficult requirement to meet. The spell extinguishes it and then creates a 20-foot radius cloud of smoke. That's an atmospheric effect. There is no concentration on this, so you can cast it and keep your polymorph going. Also, unlike everything else so far, because Pyrotechnics is an instantaneous spell, the smoke it creates is not a magical effect. That means that it is the only thing that we've seen up until now which can't be ended by Dispel Magic. As far as I'm concerned, this is the single best obscurement effect in the entire game, except for the Ever-Smoking Bottle. This thing is an uncommon magic item, which can be opened as an action to create a 60-foot emanation of smoke. That's a 60-foot radius, 120-foot diameter sphere of no advantage or disadvantage, or opportunity attacks, or sight-based spells. This thing is gigantic. Additionally, as an emanation, whoever is holding the bottle can run around with it to move the smoke, potentially allowing your own spellcasters to still use sight-based effects, although given how big it is, they'd need to have a really high speed. So we now know what the benefits of heavy obscurement are, and we know how we're going to get it. Let's have a look at how it can actually be used. I think there are 4 main practical uses of heavy obscurement. First is just as an escape option, a smoke bomb. Give the entire party a free disengage and then run away. Second is what we were doing earlier with our fog cloud example, disrupting enemy abilities. We turned off the wolves' pack tactics and the Nilbog's Tash's hideous laughter. In some fights against casters with a lot of sight-based features, you can actually just trivialise the encounter by throwing down a fog cloud and then having the monk grapple them. Third, you can sometimes use it as a defensive retreat point. Maybe the barbarian wants to use reckless attack. They can get an advantage on their turn, deal some massive damage, and then step into the fog cloud so that the enemies don't get advantage when they try to hit back. Finally, fourth is to have our cake and eat it. The big issue with heavy obscurement is that it's reciprocal. The Nilbog can't use Tash's hideous laughter on us, but we also can't use Tash's hideous laughter on the Nilbog, and we don't get advantage on the wolves even if the barbarian uses reckless attack. We want some way to give us all of the benefits with none of the downsides. There are several ways to do this, but the most famous one by far is the Warlock's Devil's Sight. This is an invocation that you can get at level 2, which lets you see through the darkness spell. If you have darkness without Devil Sight, everyone rolls at neutral, there are no opportunity attacks and there are no sight-based effects, but if you do have Devil Sight, you get to roll at advantage. Your enemies now roll at disadvantage, you still get to make opportunity attacks against them, and you can still do sight-based effects like Misty Step and Counterspell. We've turned a useful utility option into a feature with both really strong offensive and defensive applications. The problem that many tables have with this though is that whilst it's great for you, it's somewhat debilitating for the rest of the players, who might want to get a second sneak attack with their reaction or cast Suggestion on the BBEG. So let's keep going. The party is a team, you work together. Maybe at level 1 the wizard actually took a dip in Fighter to get Constitution saving throws and armour, in which case they also get a fighting style. They could pick up the Blind Fighting feat, which gives them 10 feet of blind sight. That effectively gives them the same benefits as you have with Devil Sight. They also get to have advantage on their Ray of Frost, an effective permanent dodge, and can still suggest their enemies. The rogue then might want to pick up Skulker, which gives them +1 dex, and now also gives them 10 feet of blind sight, and advantage on their hide checks. Finally, the fourth party member, a Moon Druid, might decide to wild shape into a giant Constrictor Snake for all the same effects. With a few small selections, we just went from a party who were possibly getting in each other's ways to one which has extremely high defensive capabilities alongside permanent advantage on their attacks. Obscurement is amazing. You can use it for everything from one-off escape attempts through to a central mechanic that you build your entire party around. There's so much flexibility with it. Okay, one last thing which isn't directly related to Obscurement, but is about blocking line of sight, and I think it's just really cool. So, the Illusionist Wizard. This is a subclass that I've seen get somewhat panned, but I actually really like it because of improved illusions at 3rd level. This feature lets you cast Minor Illusion as a bonus action. Let's say that there is also a halfling monk in your party who likes to skirmish by running in, punching, and then running out again. And as such, they're planning on taking a feat like Crusher so that they don't have to spend their bonus action each turn disengaging. We can make it so that they don't have to. On our turn as an Illusionist Wizard, we'll cast a spell for our action, and then for our bonus action we'll use Minor Illusion to create a 5-foot wall next to the mummy. It's the monk's turn now, and they'll run up, slap the mummy, and then step behind the wall. The mummy now can't see our monk, there's a wall in the way, so when they run, it doesn't trigger an opportunity attack. We just traded our wizard's bonus action, which probably wasn't doing much else in all honesty, to let the monk use Flurry of Blows instead of a disengage, and then to save them a feat. I think that is a really great feature, and there's many other similar uses for it. Now, Minor Illusion can only create an illusion in a 5-foot cube. By adding a roof and maybe some other walls, it should always work for small players, even if you're fighting something large or bigger. But for medium players, I think that's up to your DM. They may say that because the character is taller than 5 feet, they can still be opportunity attacked, but they may also be absolutely fine with it, or just require that the medium-sized fighter spends double movement while behind the wall, as if they were using the squeezing rules. Ask them. If you're watching this on release, Merry Christmas, or whatever the appropriate alternative greeting is. I was having so much fun going over the Obscurement rules that I actually got completely distracted. So early next year, probably the first Monday, you can expect another video where I'll be presenting a Shadow Monk build. Subscribe so you don't miss that. Or if you want to see something a bit like this now, here's a video about one of the best utility spells in D&D, Locate Object. Bye!